Alright, so here we have a bass clef chart. Now we see here, this is to help describe how a bass clef notation is set up. And here we have on the left here a bass clef with the F clef. Here we have the two dots that are surrounding this line, this green line. If you can see, the color green is our F line. And here we have a diamond shaped letter with an F on it, and it's green, and it rests here on the green line, which corresponds to the F line of a bass clef. There are 5 lines on the staff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, comprised with notes of those that rest upon those lines. Here we have a purple line with a purple diamond with a G for our bottom line of our bass clef. Here we have a yellow line with a B, with a B-shaped diamond, and here a blue, dark blue, a navy blue D line with a D. Here's our green line F, and a lighter blue colored A for the A line. And of course, as you can see across all the notes, we have diamond-shaped notes resting upon the lines and circle shapes corresponding to their color note for the spaces in between the lines. So here we can easily see the spaces of the bass clef starting on the space just below. Here we have that green F, which corresponds with the line down an octave. This green line down 1 octave, here's the F. Here's our G, which corresponds to this purple G here in the space. Our A, which is an octave below this blue A here. Here we have the B line and a B here, and so forth. Now, what's interesting to note here are these shorter lines above and below our bass clef. Now we can see here we have 6 of them on our chart here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ledger lines below the bass clef, and then a space is going to give us a very low note on the piano, or a circled note here, the space note A. Now if you notice one thing about this A is that it appears more than one time on our bass clef. We have an A here, an A here, an A here, an A here, and also an A here. That's going to be the various octaves of A on the bass clef, up to 6 ledger lines above and 6 ledger lines below our bass clef. Of course, knowing that after we go above this C here on the line, this is middle C, that these ledger lines begin to go up into where the treble clef register would be, respectively. However, you will see occasionally on a bass clef ledger lines that do just this. So it's important to be able to read these in bass clef and treble clef both, so that if we alternate clefs or we switch clefs, that we can do so seamlessly and quickly. Anyways, down here on the A, our circle A is a space. So you can see here clearly that as we go into the octaves, they alternate from a space A to a line, to a space, to a line, and to a space. And you'll find that as a pattern across every note, is that they're going to alternate. So as we look at our yellow B line here, our sixth ledger line below bass clef B line, this yellow line, we can see a B here, and we have a space B here on our second space below the bass clef to another B. And then we go up an octave to a B on a line, this yellow B on the line. And then here we have the B on the space resting on top of the treble clef do a B here on the fourth ledger line above the bass clef. So those are going to be our B notes, B's, all the way down to our sixth ledger line below. Here you can see here the C note. C is going to be sort of a tan color. It's a circle C, and we have a C here on the line, the second ledger line below. And you can see where the note C alternates, space, line, space, all the way up and down the bass clef. So C, 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 and C. And of course they're color coded, so we have the navy blue D line. This is the fifth ledger line below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is our note D. It's going to be farther left. The farther we go down on the bass clef, the farther in the leftward direction on a keyboard that you play. So this would be a low D. And here we have the D above that on a space to our D in the middle of the bass clef on the line, noted because of its diamond shape, and a D above bass clef in the second space above to our D on the fifth ledger line above the bass clef. Here we have our E, does the same thing, E's, E, 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 and E. Again, we're above the treble clef here. So we have E on the line, on the second line, and again on the 1, 2, 5th space above the bass clef. Right? And here we have the F. Here's our green line F. Again, there are 3 line Fs here on this chart. We have the F on the 4th ledger line below. We have the F in the staff. We have the F on the 6th ledger line above bass clef. Again, this would be the F on the top line of the treble clef, all the way up here. But here it's the 6th ledger line of bass clef. It would be the top line of the treble clef if we had one notated. So these begin to intersect in the treble F territory. Here we have G, our purple line G, our space G, our third line G above bass clef, and our top G above the 6th ledger line above bass clef. And of course there's a few more ledger lines above, but generally they'll use an 8VA or an octave notation so that you don't have to count, 10 ledger lines. So I just did through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's our A's, our light blue A. This is an A line to an A space, to our A line, A space. The yellow B again, here's back to B, so we're back to an octave B. B, 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 and B. And this is just how the bass clef is set up for reading music notation on the bass clef. Hopefully that can help understand how the notes work with the ledger lines. And when they begin to intersect, I have another chart for that. Let me lay down the other chart. This is, of course, now the treble clef. Much like the bass clef, we have 6 ledger lines above and 6 ledger lines below. And of course, this is middle C, so respectively these are going to get into bass clef territory again, down below middle C. However, many times you'll have, in your sheet music, you'll see notes notated below middle C here in the treble clef. So knowing those is important so you can read those easier. I've seen down to like low C, the octave below C in treble clef. For convenience sake, we have them color coded as well. So here's our green F line again. We have an F space to an F. This is our third ledger line below treble clef, F. And down here, a low F. This would be the F below the bass clef. Or here, it's the space below the sixth ledger line, F, the green F here. And they do the same thing. They go space, line, space, line, space. This is F here as well, just above the third ledger line, above the treble clef. You can see those. We have our purple G and a line G here. This is our G in the staff. So line, space, line, G, purple G's. We have the blue A, to the first line A, to a space A way up here. This is again 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in the space here, A. And we have a B, that is a yellow B. Here we have the yellow B, which would be in the bass clef, second line bass clef, to the B, just below middle C. And these are real important to learn well, because many times you'll see these spaces in between the staffs notated, and we need to be able to recognize those easily and quickly so that doesn't trip us up when we're trying to sight read. We have a G here. This is our purple G from this line, purple line G, down below the second line, or the blue line A of our treble clef. So you can see this A corresponds to this space A, which corresponds to this line A, and this space A up here. Here's our B's, B, B. Here's middle C, and we have the C in the staff on the space here. And we have the C on the second ledger line, and high C here above the yellow line B in between the fifth and sixth ledger lines above bass clef. We also have our navy D. This is where the D line is. So again, this is the, D, G, B, D, and F. These are our notes of the treble clef lines. And they're just alternating lines and spaces on up. So line, space, and their line, and their space. On, up, like this. And that's just a good way to remember that. Good to study that, and so you can have better note recognition. Here I have a chart with both of the staffs on there together, and we can see now where our notes begin to intersect from the treble clef into the bass clef territory. Here we have the bass clef notes. This is the bass clef chart, and the treble clef chart is this one here. So after we get below C, the bass clef comes in, and this becomes the top line of the bass clef, which corresponds to their lines here. And also above the bass clef, this orange line C, or tan line C, is middle C here. So these notes correspond across from D to D. E is the second ledger line E here. F is in the space of the treble clef here. Third line G above treble ledger line here is the line G in the treble clef, and so forth. You can see here that the notes correspond with the various clefs as you go ledger lines above the bass clef. Up here, these are purely treble clef notes because their bass clef is not up here, but down here below middle C, these this A, this G, and this F, and so forth, E, D, and C, are the same as they are in the bass clef. So D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. And this is where we cross over here in middle C generally. Okay, and once you go down here below, like low F, below bass clef, then you have purely bass clef notes here, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. You can see how those cross over, and that they are corresponding with the respective clefs. And that's just a reminder of your grand staff and how that's set up for music notation.